Manchester United 1, Fulham 0, the final score. Manchester United are top of the table as we welcome in Stuart Robson, who's in Valencia ahead of the big La Liga kickoff this weekend. We'll hear from Robbo in a moment, but Craig, let's start with you. Not particularly pretty from United, but a win, a good start to the season.
Win's a win, the old cliche, a win's a win. Better than... They did start with a win last year against Wolves. It was controversial with the non-penalty call. This was better, without being brilliant. But not really expecting it to be honest with you. And look, Leno had to make some saves. They had a little bit more domination than I've seen them before at home. But Fulham have only got themselves to blame. They had 2 times in the second half, they had 3-on-1s. Yes. I mean, the final ball must have been... Marco Silva must have been tearing his hair out. So they didn't take advantage of those lapses from United. Fulham didn't take advantage of that. They paid the ultimate price, and I think after the end of last season, about all the talk about Ten Hag, then in the summer with the new signings, at home for your first game, it's not going to be brilliant, but it was a win.
Yeah.
And that's at least better. We saw De Ligt coming on to get some game time. We saw Zirkzee, I mentioned him, the new signing. I didn't realise he was such a big lad. He looks a big, strong lad as well. And they obviously need somebody up there to score goals. Rasmus Højlund is injured again. Mason Mount, he was switching between Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes, but all this sort of false nine, none of them at the end of the day are out and out strikers, and at least Zirkzee gave them something a little bit extra when he come on, so you can't have any complaints.
No, I suppose you can't, Robbo. If you're Manchester United, 3 points from the opening game, move on.
Yeah, they did quite a lot of good things. Some of their one-touch football was good. We saw that pass that Casemiro played when Fernandes should have, as Craig said, lifted it over the goalkeeper. There was some good attacking play where they won the ball back in quite good positions. So there were certain aspects of the game that I thought looked good, and they tried to pass it forward more than I've seen them pass it forward in previous games. But there was still those problems where they were counter-attacked. There was a couple of counter-attacks very early on in the game when Traore had a couple of runs, and they didn't defend it very well. They were caught open in midfield. I thought Casemiro played well, but again, as Craig said, there was 2 opportunities that Fulham had to take the lead in the second half when they had a 2v1, and they hit Maguire with the ball on the first one, and then they played a bad pass for the second one. So there were moments where I thought Manchester United could have been counter-attacked so easily. So there's things that we saw last year still happen. There's no doubt about that. Some good football, maybe a bit more attacking play, but also they are vulnerable to the counter-attack. And they didn't look very comfortable, I wouldn't say, from set plays. Fulham looked a threat at set plays.
I thought United actually, going back a week or so, I thought there was a lot of decent stuff from them in the Community Shield.
Yep.
After an initial period where there was a lot of domination from City, some of their patterns of play, one-touch movement, particularly the one early on where I think Mason Mount almost got in from a move that had like 7 or 8 passes. There was that quite a lot, the counter-attack. I thought there was enough last week to suggest that it's going to be better for them, which I think it will be. That being said, it was a low bar last year, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Very low bar.
Yep.
Apart from the Liverpool games in the City Cup final, it was down here. Just how good it's going to be. And Rasmus Højlund last year up front, it's hard to criticise him because he's a young man, but he's very raw. He'll work his socks off. He'll run around, he'll fight, and he'll scrap, and he'll give you 90 minutes plus injury time every week. But he's raw, and he's picked up quite a few injuries. So they need somebody in that position going forward that's going to get them a quota of goals. Now, whether that is Joshua Zirkzee going for the rest of the season, that remains to be seen. But all I know is when you go into a new club as a player, and it's your first game, and it's at home, you'd want to start, but he comes off the bench, he gets the winning goal. It's perfect for him.
Yeah, it's a dream scenario, isn't it, Robbo?
Absolutely. The crowd would go home disappointed if it's 0-0. Manchester United have made several chances. Fulham have made several chances as well. It's an even game. Maybe Manchester United just pipped it in terms of possession. But the crowd go home disappointed if it's a 0-0 draw. Now they go away saying, well, this could be a good season. We've just got a centre-forward who we've bought. He's come on, he's changed the game, he's scored a goal. It's great for him, it's great for the crowd. It's also great for the manager because there was question marks. Why are they going with Fernandes and Mason Mount in those sort of false 9 positions? Why couldn't they start with Zirkzee? Maybe he's not fully fit. But at the end, he'll say, I made the right substitution. I gave him 20 minutes at the end. He proved me right, and he scored the winning goal. And he's the player for the future. So it's a great night for him. It's a great night for Ten Hag, and it's a great night for the Manchester United supporters.
It most certainly is. He's welcome in Julian Laurent. Jules, we discussed a lot, didn't we, in pre-season? Where are the goals going to come from Manchester United? Is Zirkzee ready? Well, for 20 minutes, he certainly showed that he is.
Yeah, it's a great finish. I mean, he puts his foot there, his left foot. I'm not sure how much he directs the ball. He wants to just makes contact with the Garnacho cross. But we've said it when he signed, he's not an in-and-out striker. He's not the same profile to Haaland or to Haaland. This is not what he does. And you see on the goal, because he drops quite deep to get the ball from Bruno, to give the ball to Casemiro, then to Garnacho, and then he's back in the box. So he's not somebody who's going to stay in the box just to be there to finish the goal, a bit like what we see Haaland or we saw Haaland during last season. It's a different profile. So, and that's why he hasn't really been the most clinical in his career. I think last season with Bologna was his best, and that was just 11 goals in the league, for example. So I don't think he's a 35 goal a season striker, but he will bring something different to the game. And I think tonight that helped. There will be other games where maybe Haaland will be better because of his profile, and there's certainly games where Zirkzee would be very useful for this team.
We expect Manchester United still to be active, don't we, in the transfer window before it closes at the end of the month. Jules, tell us more about the possibility of Ugarte making that move from PSG to United.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, this one, because United have had 2 offers rejected already, but they were quite a while ago. In the last 3 weeks, it's been a bit more quieter. Maybe because if you look at the game tonight, we had a good Casemiro, much better than anything that we saw last season, for example. It's not the Casemiro that we saw at Real Madrid 2-3 years ago, but it's much better than what we saw. It was maybe United, certainly in possession, one of United's best players tonight. The ball for Bruno in the first half is an outstanding ball. He was very, very active in the game, and Kobe Mainoo next to him. So would you go and spend 65 million or 60 million on Ugarte when Casemiro is in this kind of form? I mean, you need more bodies, that's for sure, especially in that defensive midfield role. But spend all that money for somebody who might not be a starter in your team, that's what I think, that's where the Ugarte to United possibility is right now. I think they are pondering it, because if Mainoo and Casemiro can offer you a really good season, then the backup doesn't have to be worth 65 million.
But that's a gamble, isn't it, considering what we saw from Casemiro last season, Craig? Because obviously he did well today, but can you really judge him on one game?
No, because as the season rolls on and they play better teams, and maybe they're getting a bit of a chasing in the middle of the park, which they did quite a lot last year, that's when he really struggled. And you can have a teenager in there all you want, and Kobe Mainoo to run about after you, but the gaps that will leave is just too big to defend. So I think there is still a huge question there, but that's a lot of money for a player who, you know, we're talking about replacing a guy who's been a legend in the game, but let's be honest about it, the legs have pretty much gone. Now, he might be doing a decent job. He did a decent job in the Community Shield, and another decent job tonight. As I say, it looks as if he's a little trimmer than last year. Maybe there's one last roll of the dice for him, I don't know, but to do it over a full season, I think, in England, with all the cup competitions that's going on, I think that's a bit much. So, you know, they've already spent a lot of money on players that are not regulars or might not be regulars. There's 60 million plus, I think, on Mason Mount. OK, he had injuries, but you can't say if when everybody's fit, Mason Mount's going to be a regular. Anthony was even more, not a regular. So they have these players that they've spent money on that, when fit, are not guaranteed to be in that first 11. I think they're at a stage now, if you're spending upwards of 50, 60 million, it has to be somebody that's going to come in and make a difference on a weekly basis, because I think they've wasted enough money over the last few years, and that's one of the reasons maybe they're not able to go out and spend what they want. So, no, great for Casemiro at the moment. It's been a good start, but I don't know if he can last the season playing like that.
What do you think, Robbo?
Absolutely, they've got to get somebody else in. You know, Casemiro, I thought, was excellent last week. I thought he was outstanding in the second half in the Community Shield. Thought he played well again tonight with his passing. He looked fitter, as Craig said and Julian said. He looks much fitter, he looks sharper. But he's not going to be able to play the whole season, and I don't think Mainoo was going to be able to play the whole season. So you need cover. One of them might get injured, one of them might fall out of form, so you need good cover. And that means another midfield player in, because Mason Mount, I don't think, can come back and play in that position. I'm not sure Bruno Fernandes suits that position either. And McTominay looks as though they're always trying to get rid of McTominay. So they've got to get somebody in. Ugarte might just be that player that plays 70% of the games, and they have a little swap around every so often when the other players aren't fully fit. But they need another central midfield player, no doubt about that.
I saw what Joshua Zirkzee did after leaving the Man United locker room. He quickly made his statement. Manchester United kicked off their Premier League season with a 1-0 win against Fulham, thanks to a late goal from Joshua Zirkzee. Despite not being at their best, Zirkzee's goal secured all 3 points for United, starting the season on a high note after their Community Shield loss to Manchester City. Zirkzee was the first to leave the locker room for the second half, taking his place on the bench before any of his teammates. This might have shown some frustration, but it paid off when he was subbed in and scored the winning goal. With Rasmus Højlund injured, United needed Zirkzee to step up, and he delivered with a smart finish, securing the victory and celebrating passionately with the fans. Ahmad's opportunity. Ahmad, who impressed during pre-season, got the start against Fulham on the right wing. Although he didn't make a massive impact and was later substituted, he showed flashes of his potential, which could earn him more chances this season. Mazraoui's strong debut. Noussair Mazraoui made an impressive debut, stopping Fulham's Adama Traoré with a crucial tackle and showing why United brought him in from Bayern Munich. He looked solid defensively and contributed in attack, proving to be a well-rounded addition to the team. New signings unveiled. Before the match, United introduced their 4 new summer signings, who received a warm reception from the crowd. Despite some pre-season setbacks, fans are hopeful these additions will strengthen the team. Sancho left out. Jadon Sancho was notably absent from the squad, raising questions about his future at the club. Despite earlier appearances, it seems his position at United is uncertain, with rumors of a potential move still circulating.